All right. What's up? This is episode 5 of Movies in the Minefield. It's been way too long since I've done one of these. I did stream with BLA a couple weeks ago. I think we had too much fun for YouTube because I think that stream got taken down. But it was a members only stream. So if y'all were there and hung out with us, it was a good time. Thank y'all for being there. But yes, I'm joined once again by BLA, Bazed Lit Analyzer. You should be able to, if you're new to the channel, you should be able to click on his name in the title, take you to his channel. If not, I might just throw his link in the description later on. Or if you just search Bazed Lit Analyzer on YouTube, it's the first thing that comes up. So we were just talking about it. Feels like it's been a rough week for a lot of people around here, but BLA is going to be on whose show are you going on again tonight?
Jason Burmis. I'll be on Jason Burmis tonight at 9:40 on TNT Radio.
Yes, so definitely go check that out. We're going to go ahead and dive into this one. We're going to be hitting Sin City. We talked about doing this one a while back, and then I hadn't watched the film in a while, and so I rewatched the recut extended version of it, which we're just talking about how much that one sucks. The original version. I mean, the extra scenes are okay, but there's not that much extra. And the order they put it in, they basically were just like, oh, we're just going to take it and just reorder everything, and it doesn't work. Only the original works. So anyway.
Oh wait, you were talking about the Bill Riccio stream that we did.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, we had too much fun on that one. That one got a little spicy.
Yeah, so that, even for the members section, we even got a little. We had too much fun.
Yeah,
but I think Jason was there for that one and a couple others, so we had a blast. We'll go ahead and jump into it. So, what's your? Let me ask you this: what is your? Actually, I'm gonna ask you a question first because you were an actor, and I heard an actor say one time that it is more difficult as an actor to have no lines than to have a lot of lines. And we have two characters in this film, which we'll get into this later, but two characters, Devin Aoki's character and Elijah Wood's character, and both of them have no lines at all. And so I was curious, as someone who'd done a lot of acting, what is your take on that? Did you ever encounter any role, or do you think that's true, that if you have no roles, it's a lot, or excuse me, no lines, it's harder than if you have a bunch of lines?
Yeah, I think it's more difficult. I mean, it depends on what you mean. Because this is film and theater acting is different. I mean, of course, as an actor, you want more lines. The more you have to say, the better off you are. I mean, and things like learning your lines that doesn't really come into play. I mean, because that, the business of an actor is to learn his lines, but it's different for film, because for film you get sides and the lines are always going to change. So I didn't know how. I always found it kind of incomprehensible how film actors do that. How they're able to deal with that, because it's like chaotic. It's sort of unstable. What you're going to do on the camera or not. And but the thing about film acting is that much of film acting is not speaking. It's acting in front of a camera, and that's very difficult. I think I really don't. I don't know. It's hard to gauge. I think that the characters in this movie who have lines have a lot of lines. They've sort of run the monologue. And Mickey Rourke and Bruce Willis are great examples of that. I mean, Mickey Rourke is great, and I think Mickey Rourke is by far the best person in this movie. He's so fantastic. This was like the start of his comeback, and it's funny because the part is written in a way that the lines show his action. They really explore what he's doing on the in the frame. But I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, anything I've ever been in, I want more lines. I want to be able to speak more. But that's the business of theater. There's a lot more, not exposition, but a lot more. There's just a lot more talking on stage than there is in a film, because a film you can show a lot more versus have yourself narrate it in a way. Not that great theater doesn't do that. But this is a weird film. I mean, because it's also notable that the dialogue and a lot of the monologues are written in a purely I mean, it's a comic book. And I think Robert Rodriguez said that this was a translation of a comic book rather than an adaptation, which is an interesting way of looking at it. In other words,
Yes.
it's Frank Miller, and Frank Miller co-directs it, but there's no screenwriting credit.
Mm-hmm.
So he just took Frank Miller's words and translated them, I guess, onto a film, onto celluloid, or onto a digital medium. And it really is pretty groundbreaking the way this film is done. I mean, it's done really well in a way that movies had not done before. I mean, it's almost pure green screen, and it's very well done. It's also interesting because it's a noir film. Obviously, it's like the noir film. It's sort of a meta noir film, and I gotta say, like, noir bothers me a lot. It really kind of annoys me at times because it's such a specific genre. And this one is good because it plays on those. It's almost a satire of a noir film. Um, but other times noir films can, I've had enough of new noir films in a way, because it's like, this dame told me that, and it's like, okay, man, this was one time in the history of drama where, like, in the 50s, where we have noir, and it's like everybody goes back to this one time because it's such a cinematic thing, such a cinematic sort of set piece. But I really like this movie. I saw it in New York when it came out. I was living in New York. I went by myself to like a midnight show in Union Square after I got off work, and I was just, what's he saying, Caddyshack? Cannonball, cannonball coming, cannonball. It's like me when I saw the film. Just started to put Jesus belt off of it. It's like, no, I was just like, I saw this thing by myself after I got off work, and and I didn't even recognize Benicio in it. Benicio is very good in this movie. And Clive Owen, of course.
Oh
Clive
yeah.
Owen does a lot of noir work, which is really interesting. He kind of has he even has a new neo-noir piece out. Not Marlowe, but it's the Dashiell Hammett thing or whatever. He's just got a face that is perfect for a noir. So I guess we'll see how this one goes. Yeah.
Yeah, he has Clive Owen's interesting because he's sort of, yeah, he looks like he could have been in he looks like an actor from that time period. And in this one, his hair is kind of shaggy, it's sort of in his face. But if he slicked the hair back, he looked, even like down to his build, he just looks like a guy from that time. And I'm a big noir fan. I like film noir a lot. Some of the neo noir, I like a lot of that as well. Some of it kind of gets a little, and I think sometimes people apply the neo noir label to films that are not neo noir. Like people say Pulp Fiction is neo noir. I don't think it is. Like, I would disagree with that one.
That's just because it's 50s style in pulp. It's not
Yeah,
noir, though. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, a great neo noir like China Moon with Ed Harris and Benicio del Toro. That's have you ever seen that one?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great one.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to read through the cast on this just to
Yeah, it's crazy.
get a sense of who all was in this film. And just quick point, I just want to mention, since you mentioned Mickey Rourke playing Marv, and he was incredible in this. And with a lot of what they do with the green screen now, I think is terrible. But I think this was interesting because it doesn't look like you can tell it's not real. Like it looks like you're watching a graphic novel. And Mickey Rourke and Elijah Wood, they have two fight scenes like where they're fighting each other, but they didn't do them together. And they, as the lore goes, they didn't even meet each other until I think the premiere. That was the first time they actually met. But yeah, I'm just going to read through this cast real quick.
Let me see if I can name 10 of these people in this movie.
Okay.
All right. Bruce Willis, Mickey Rourke, Clive Owen, Benicio del Toro, Elijah Wood, Jessica Alba, Carla Gugino, Devin Aoki, Powers Booth, and Rutger Hauer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's 10. That's 10.
Nicely done.
Right.
Let's see who else we got. Rosario Dawson, Brittany Murphy, Josh Hartnett, Marley Shelton, Alexis Bledel, Nick Stahl, who was also incredible in this. Jamie King, Michael Clark Duncan, Michael Madsen, who I'm a Michael Madsen fan, but he was not very good in this movie. He was just kind of reading his lines. He's like, "Oh, hard again. You have a bad heart. I can't let you do this. Hard again."
He's like, hey, Bob Rodriguez, what movie are you gonna put me in next? You gonna put me in the next movie? You got a part left for me.
Yeah, it was.
I've just been in all your movies. What? There's a Tarantino movie that I'm not in.
Yeah, I gotta be. I can't do the Michael Madsen voice, but I gotta be in this one too. Who else we got? Rick Gomez, Nick Offerman, Elijah Wood, and Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez actually both make appearances in this as well. Rodriguez as a SWAT team cop, and Frank Miller as a Roman Catholic priest.
Yeah. Like the Nick Stahl character. Nick Stahl he's not in much. I mean, he was in Terminator 3. And I think he was in a movie where he was a heroin addict. With two other people. I can't remember that one. I think maybe he was in real life. I don't know. But he hadn't done much work. But his character in this plays the embodiment of he's the pod dwelling, bug eating incel of all. He's an incel of all incels. Total creep. He's the embodiment of the creep. He's like, total creep. And then Elijah Wood is really good. Shouts out to Elijah Wood, who is very good in this. I watched him in a film the other day called The Oxford Murders, which is kind of a noir film set in England. But Elijah Wood, I like Elijah Wood because he's my exact age, and also shouts out to my friend out there, Toby Stevens, because Toby Harvard, who wrote, he's got a new movie coming out with Elijah Wood. And let me find the movie. Sorry. Who's Toby? Oh, Toby Stevens is the English actor, the short little English actor. Toby Harvard he has a movie called Come to Daddy with Elijah Wood, which is really good. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. He wrote it. I should cover it. He's my friend. He's my buddy on Instagram. And he's got a new one coming out with Elijah Wood called Bookworm. So that should be good. And another one called Spanking Shakespeare. He's good. Toby is a great screenwriter. So
I'm just checking out some of his films. I've heard of the what was the call? What was the first one you mentioned? I blanked out on the title.
Come to Daddy.
Come to Daddy. That's right. Yeah, I heard that one was good. So I'll have to check those out. And Elijah Wood is one of those people, and who knows with any of these people, but he's one of those that seems like a normal dude. Like he doesn't seem like one of these, Hollywood weirdos. He just seems like a normal kind of guy. Yeah,
he was very good. He was very good as Frodo, obviously.
Yeah.
Sean Astin should have won an Oscar for that. For Return of the King. He should have. I mean, he really should have won for Best Supporting Actor for Return of the King. And by the way, this movie is better than some of the movies I've watched this week, which I'll be covering probably on a member stream. But I watched Killers of the Flower Moon, the movie. I did the book, and I watched the movie. Oh my gosh. Have you seen that? Have you seen?
No.
It's Martin Scorsese.
I listened to your analysis of the book, but no, I haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro is in Robert De Niro talks the entire movie. He's in every scene, and Leo is playing a slow boy in the movie. And the book is a lot different. The book is a lot better. The movie is like, okay, well, Goodfellas set in the Osage Indian 1920s. It's 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Ooh,
it's rough. What else did I? Oh, and then the counselor. I was telling you guys. I was telling Maddie about trying to watch Cormac McCarthy's The Counselor, and my cable kept cutting out. I can't make the fucking cable work. And also how after this, you guys should look up Sam Hyde fans. Look up Sam Hyde fan, like kicking a fan.
Classic.
And that's exact. So my fan broke in my classroom this week, and I destroyed this fan. I kicked it and stomped it and skavooshed it. I destroyed this fan, and then I just tried to make the other fan work, and the other fan doesn't work. So none of the car doesn't work, the key fob doesn't work, the fan doesn't work, the other fan doesn't work, the cable doesn't work, nothing works. That's the G reset. Nothing works. So,
yep. Yeah, it's like I got to go on a whole rant about my refrigerator, but that's issues with that. But what can you do?
They said the fan is broken, and I said, "What? Boom! I mean, boom! My door breached that fan. I just perforated it, stomped it, and skavooshed it.
Just give it a Joe Rogan flying roundhouse back kick, spinning back kick.
Yeah, yeah. I did a Jean-Claude Van Damme splits kick on that fan."
We are going to get into Sin City. I just have to say, you'll appreciate this. I've probably told you this before. Bloodsport is a fantastic movie. That's actually one of my favorites. But every time I watch that movie, or I hear the name Jean-Claude Van Damme, or anybody mentions Bloodsport, I think about Nick Mullen's bit about how there's that split second when Van Damme is putting his underwear on, when it's like he's obviously waiting, and they edit it in a way to where you can tell he was just waiting for them to call action on that shot.
Yes. It's so fun. I rewatched it the other day. I watched Bloodsport again the other day. The scene, like when they're just, it's also so perfect for memes, like them walking through the city, like they're in Thailand and they're going to the Kumite, and it's like Kumite boys, just walking through Bangkok or whatever, and it says playing like synthwave. Such a good movie.
Infinitely memeable movie.
I've been listening to for some reason. When my car finally worked and I got in it the other day, they were playing "Who Made Who? Who Made You? Who Made Who? Gonna tell me who made who?" from Maximum Overdrive, and I was like, "Fuck, this is a good song, dude. It really is a good song." So I've listened to the song "Who Made Who" like 5 million times over the last few days. The soundtrack's better than the movie. Can't you tell we got a situation here? The Coke machine is like spitting Coke spot back at the guy.
Oh, I gotta put all these movies on the list to watch. I gotta rewatch Bloodsport. Good stuff.
Did you see? I mean, I know I'm not trying to do any news here, but did you see the Iranian? You saw the Iranian stuff that happened this week? I'm totally tuned out of the news. I barely pay attention to anything, but I did see the Iranian events this week.
I heard people who I trust saying that a country in the Middle East shot down the guy's helicopter. A certain country backed by the U.S. shot down his helicopter, and like
I don't think
died. So. I don't know if that's actually true or not.
I don't think they did. I think that literally they got in a helicopter and it was foggy weather and he crashed. I'm just going to take it as it comes. As Norm says, I just take it exactly as they show it to me on the news. That's how I'm going to take that.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of conspiracies people come up with when a helicopter goes down. But it's like one of the guys from, was it Montgomery Gentry? He died in a helicopter crash. Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter. And I know there's all kinds of theories around that. But, dude, helicopters crash all the time. It's a dangerous way to travel. And so sometimes, and I know you know this, but to people out there who get too deep into this stuff, sometimes a helicopter crash is just a helicopter crash. It happens.
He was like this, "Mr. President, I'm flying. Look at the mountains. Oh, I'm dead."
R.I.P. No, it sucks. Yeah. I mean, but so that happened. But then I watched the entire state funeral.
Nice.
I watched all 4 or 5 hours of the state funeral. Dude, it was crazy. I put this thing on. I had it on in the background, and the music they were playing, they were going through, they're going through the streets, and they got the pallbearers and stuff, and they got this music playing, and they're showing all the people in the city. And I just let it play, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And the music was da, and I just let it play, and I was like, and at some point I kind of fell asleep, and I was like, "Wow, this is really nice music to listen to." And then I woke up and they were still going. And I was like, holy shit, this is the way to do it. Right. 5 hours. It was crazy. David says a hard rule BLA only watches news about the slaying of world leaders, but how does he know how to turn on the news?
Intuition.
It's true. I'm so dialed in. Like I turned it on. I just sensed in the psychosphere something's been happening here, man. Something's happening. I turned it on and it was bam. There you go. Helicopter news.
Yeah.
So I'm about to cover something on Burma's tonight. The not really, not a spoiler. I'm covering the state funeral ASMR. I mean, for like 5 hours. Oh my gosh. And it was swaying, and the way the pallbearers go is like they're swaying, they're walking, swaying, and the music's like very, what's the word? Mufti? I don't know.
I have no idea.
It's very roomy muftis or whatever. I was like, oh dude, this is sick.
It's like watching a Scorsese movie. You fall asleep and you wake up 8 hours later and it's still going.
Yeah, this is better than taking an Oxycontin and watching the damn Osage murders for 4.5 hours.
It's a party. Speaking of partying, the characters don't do that much of this. They do a lot of drinking and smoking and staying up late, but they're not really partying. Not much partying going on. But so the first scene in this, it opens with Josh Hartnett, who, by the way, is a great actor. And just quick side note, I have a lot of respect for the guy. I just read I don't keep up with celebrities' personal lives because I don't care. But I read the other day, him and his wife just had their 4th child, which I was like, hey, good for them. I mean, how many people in Hollywood have 4 children, much as with the same woman? So good for him. He also, because people who are above a certain age will remember when Josh Hartnett was like the teen heartthrob guy in Hollywood, and you could put him in anything, and it was, and he kind of got pigeonholed in that. And so it's been a long time since I've read about this, but as best I remember, he basically disappeared. He went away and stayed away long enough to where, he still had some little bit of name recognition, but to where he basically had to work his way back up in films to prove that okay, yeah, he's not just, some teen heartthrob. He's actually a serious actor.
Yeah. When I think of Josh Hartnett, I think of all of his movies came out when I was living in Belfast. So I saw Lucky Number 11, Wicker Park. Wicker Park always makes me think of that Norm bit about he was pistol whipped in Hancock Park.
Oh yeah.
And what else? Have you seen the Virgin Suits Unalived? The Sofia Coppola movie, The Virgins.
No, I was gonna buy that one the other day, and then I didn't get around to ordering it. But I'm gonna do that because I like Sofia Coppola. I think she's
he's great in that movie, dude. He's great. There's a scene with him. He's like you see him next to the car and he's playing that Heart song. A Magic Man. He reminds me of my friend Taylor, and that's in that movie. So I like it. That movie's decent. It's decent. It's dark. It's a dark movie.
Yeah.
Soundtrack by Air. But
nice.
No, I like Josh Hartnett also. I think he's cool. He's good in this movie.
He's had two appearances. And so in this one he plays the salesman is his character, and it sort of opens and Marley Shelton is out on this balcony, like it's some high rise rich people party, and in each sort of yarn, as they're called, the Sin City stories, there's generally one thing that will be in color. So in the stories featuring Clive Owen, plays Dwight McCarthy, his red Converse, everything's in black and white except for his shoes are red. There's what's the other one? The yellow. Nick Stahl's character, after we'll get into that, after he gets all goes through all these treatments and gets all gross. He's in yellow, right? They call him that yellow bastard.
Yeah.
And then
do you think they got the idea from that from your favorite movie, Schindler's List?
I've actually never seen that movie.
What? You've never seen that movie?
No.
No way. No way. You've never seen that movie. No way. You've never seen Alma. You've never seen Ray Fiennes in that movie?
No.
Dude. Oh, I can't. I'm not laughing. I'm not. I'm not.
Is
I'm
that
not
the
laughing.
Spielberg movie about the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I
yes,
have not
yes.
seen that one.
Yes. We can't riff on it on the stream. It's
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really a
It's not
Spielberg
a.
guy. I don't really like
It's not
his.
a funny movie.
I don't really like his movies, but
Yeah. There's
um,
one scene with a red coat in the movie. That's
okay.
yeah.
I'll have to watch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's not a funny scene.
Maybe
but,
I probably won't, but
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and so in this one, it's Marley Sheldon. Her eyes are blue, right? And so she's out there, and here comes Josh Hartnett, right? And he's doing this voiceover, and it's a very noir kind of scene, because he walks out, he's in a tuxedo, and it starts raining, and he offers her a cigarette. They're standing there smoking, and he's kind of describing, how she's running from something, and there's some kind of, she's in trouble. He doesn't really know what's going on. So then he kisses her, and then you hear this gunshot like through a silencer. And then he says, this is such the lines in there. I can't remember all the lines, but the lines he delivers are so well written. He says, what is this? The silencer makes a whisper of the, or is it the whisper? I think he says something that's like the silencer makes a whisper of the gunshot. And he's like, I guess I'll never know. He says something like, I guess I'll never know what she was running from. I'll cash her check in the morning. And so it's this kind of odd scene where this woman hired this guy to assassinate her. Like, she hired a hitman to take herself out.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. I don't really know what to make of that. I think it's an interesting.
Sounds like you're talking about Fawn Knutson? Sounds like Fawn Knutson.
Who is that?
She's gonna kill that poor woman. He's gonna kill that poor She hired herself, dude. Right? Sounds like Big Lebowski. Right?
Yes.
He's gonna kill that poor woman. Who the fuck are the Knutsons, man? Yeah. They live on a farm outside Moorhead, Minnesota. Here's the family farm. It's the same. It's the same exact thing.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I suppose that happens. I don't know. This is the Bruce Willis part, right? Because, like you said, I watched the movie, and then I still have the DVD that I got in the subway in New York, which is a camcorder copy.
Nice.
And then I rewatched it today, and it was the recut version. What do you call it? The remastered recut version, which sucks. It's the worst. Terrible. This is the worst remaster of a movie I've ever seen. They recut the whole movie so that each yarn is followed by full screen credits. Did it do that for you? Yeah,
no, I didn't do that on Amazon.
Full screen credits after every yarn on this version I watched today. It's terrible. And they reordered the narrative, so it's a little annoying.
Yeah. So that I'm going off the Wikipedia because I'd started rewatching the proper version today, but I didn't quite get all the way through it. So, then we get That Yellow Bastard Part 1, and this we have to be careful how if y'all have seen the film, what we're talking about. We have to be
I forgot this
careful.
was so dark.
Yeah, this is. It'd been a while since I watched. It's funny. A friend of mine who's really into art and things like that. He's a graphic designer. He's really into art and all that. And I told him, like, "Oh, you should watch this movie. Like, I think you would like it." So I recommended it to him, and he was like, "All right, yeah." So he watched it, and then what I didn't realize is he watched it with his wife, who is not into anything like dark and gruesome like that, and. They were like, next time I saw him,
she was like, "Who's this friend of yours that recommended this movie? What a creep!"
They were like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I told them later, I was like, I didn't mean for you to watch it with her. Like, I meant watch it by yourself.
Yeah, it should go without saying, when you recommend a movie, you're recommending it like with the bros.
Yeah,
or by yourself. Like you don't watch it as a family movie.
Yeah, so they went on they were on vacation, and he was like, "Oh yeah,
Oh
Matt
no.
recommended this. Let's watch it." And so
Oh
she
no.
still, this has been a couple years ago, and she still gives me a hard time about it. I was like, okay.
Oh
To
no.
be fair, I was telling him to watch it. Not this
Yeah.
is not like a date night movie, but
No.
so that Yellow Bastard, it starts with Bruce Willis, right? He's this kind of older detective, and it's his last day on the job, and he's
Of course.
driving, and he's, there's a lot of voiceovers in this movie, and he's talking about how his wife got these steaks to celebrate his last, his retirement, but he has one last loose end he has to tie up, which is this girl Nancy, who has been taken by Junior. I think it's in Junior's what they call him, Rourke, right? Who is the son of I can't be the. Let me actually have the thing pulled up.
Powers
right
Booth.
Powers Booth's character, who is Senator Ethan Rourke, and he's the nephew of Rutger Hauer's character, which is Cardinal Patrick Henry Rourke, Cardinal David Patrick Harry Rourke, and who is the most. You would think the senator is the most powerful man, but they explicitly say that no, it's this Cardinal Rourke who actually got his brother. Basically made his brother a senator. And so this guy, like you said, total just weirdo, incel, freak, creep. And he has taken this girl and is going to do, the worst possible things you can imagine to her.
It kind of reminds me of Whitey Bulger, right? I mean, because Whitey Bulger's brother was in the government. He worked in the government. Was he a Fed? He did something. Bulger's brother did something.
Was he DEA?
Yeah, something like that. And then Bulger ended up being the guy, of course, with his family and La Famiglia. And then also it kind of reminds me of the Dulles brothers. Or there's someone else. Who was it that had the priest who was a brother? Was it like Cardinal Richelieu or somebody?
I think
had a brother who was in the government, and then of course the cardinal ends up being the top of the oligarchy. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense because this is actually a pretty truthful portrayal of the oligarchy power structure, right? And the kind of government crime family. And I had forgotten that it was so dark. I mean, I forgot the entire storyline with Bruce Willis in this movie and what he's dealing with, which ends up being the girl grows up and she's Jessica Alba. But before that, I forgot what was the reason for that happening. Yeah, maybe I went late to the cinema and I missed that part when I walked in. But it is incredibly dark. And this is another movie where I go, why would Nick Stahl take this role? Why would anyone take this role? I feel like Hollywood actors, they do roles like this and they think, oh, it's brave, right? It's so brave to take a role like this. It's not brave. It's just gross.
Yeah.
It's nasty. It's about as nasty as you could possibly get for this guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the war. If I think about all the awful characters in any movie I've seen, he is actually probably the worst. Junior Rourke is easily, he's got to be the most despicable character out of any movie I've personally seen.
He also looks like the guy on Star Trek Next Generation with the ears, the bald head and the ears, and he's like, nah.
Oh yeah.
He looks like the same. He's like that. He's like that guy. Jethro, no, he knows Next Generation. Who's that character?
Yeah, Jethro.
That guy.
He's on the chat. Oh, and I looked it up. Whitey Bulger's brother was William Bulger, who was president of the Massachusetts Senate for 18 years.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
And then he was president of UMass.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking it was DEA. I think I'm mixing him up with somebody else. But
well, because Whitey Bulger was a Fed informant. So
right, yeah,
I remember that his state senator. There you
go. And so. We don't get into all the minor characters, but so Bruce Willis, initially his Michael Madsen, we're kind of riffing on that earlier. Michael Madsen's character shows up, Bob, and he just kind of reads his lines, and then it's unclear. I can't remember exactly if he's on the payroll of the Rourkes. I think he's on most everybody is corrupt in this whole entire city, right? Which is Basin City, which is a city, a sort of fictional city in the American West somewhere. It's never explicitly said where it is, but and so yeah, and so he knocks out Michael Madsen's character, and he's out at these like docks, these warehouses at the wharfs, I think as they call it, and there's a section of the city, and so he goes and busts into the room, takes out all of the Junior Rourke's henchmen, and then that guy, yeah,
This
I
guy
wonder if that's where they
Ferengi, yeah, living the
I
dream.
couldn't think
Yeah,
of his
you're
name.
right. Yeah,
Nah. And so he chases him out, and Rourke actually says, he was like, "You can't do GD thing to me, Hardigan," which John Hardigan is Bruce Willis's character. He says, he's like, "Do you know who my father is?" Like, he's just open, like blatant, just flagrantly, like, "Oh, I can do the worst things you can imagine to this 11-year-old. And like, there's nothing you can do because of my dad." He's just brazen about it. He doesn't care. And so then he ends up getting, Hardigan shoots his ear off, and then Junior Rourke shoots him in the shoulder. So then he responds by shooting his hand off that's holding the gun, and then shoots him in the nether regions. Right? He says, "I take his weapons away, both of them." And this is interesting because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but he does, and this is where I think, we know that rich, powerful, important, quote unquote important people, there's kind of this obsession with bloodlines, right? This is a very important thing. Like in royalty, you have to marry the right people, for all these bloodline purposes. And it's basically explicitly said that he's Senator Rourke later on says, he sort of alludes to the fact that he took his only son, and now basically his bloodline is ended because Cardinal Rourke, his brother, obviously didn't have any children, and so then he couldn't have children because he shot his Hardigan shot his what he would use to make children off. And
hey, here's meet my friend Mr. Wang. No offense.
Well timed. I don't. Anyway, what do you have on this?
Well, first of all, shouts out to Crystalline out there. She says, "Hold on." Oh, sorry, I had to do my Lebowski cough there. Duder.
All
his
good.
dudeness. BLA, have you ever heard of actors being blackmailed, manipulated into taking certain roles they didn't want? Like their agent said, "You'll get a great role next if you take this one." Yes, that happens all the time. In fact, that's like the meat of the bread and butter and the meat of how actors get roles in Hollywood. So, for instance, I was just watching The Counselor. That's Robert De Niro. That's in Cape Fear. But I was watching
Good
The
movie.
Counselor with Michael Fassbender, and Michael Fassbender did that movie. And they financed it. He did that movie because they financed his next movie, which was Assassin's Creed. So oftentimes actors will do that. Tom Cruise has done that a bunch of times. Actors, I mean, that's normal for actors to do. They have to be in movies that the studio will. That's part of their deal, and the agents sort of work that deal, and they don't want to. But in the end, it's actors working. But actors taking roles that they don't want to, yes, happens all the time. All the time. That's mainly how actors work. Because we picture actors as, choosing their roles, but they don't really. Because a Hollywood actor is lucky to get any role, the way they see it, to get one role that pays above, what do they call it? With the scale, that pays above scale. So the way it works is if an actor takes a role in a shitty movie, then the agent will work that with the next studio, and that will put them into the running for the next movie, and then the next movie, and then the next movie. Jamie Kennedy said there used to be 40 studios always putting out content. Now there's 5 studios that make a few movies per year. Well, that's true, except for the big what happens also with that is that the big studios there are only a certain number of big studios. I mean, there's Warner Brothers, Paramount, etc. The Don Simpson stream I talked about. The Don Simpson stream I did talks about that a lot. There's only a certain number of huge studios, but what happens is that the big studios own subsidiaries, and so they finance smaller movies, and so really it's still the head of the studios. There's like 5 guys in Hollywood who make all the decisions that are the head of the studios. During Don Simpson's time, he was the head of that small clique in Hollywood. The ones that went to the Don Simpson's funeral was like Barry Diller. You know, that there's like one agent guy, there's one producer guy. You know, Weinstein was one of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's the head of Warner Brothers, head of Paramount, and then all the smaller ones get those. And then a lot of times also, like look at the new movie Monkey Man. There's a movie called Monkey Man that's out. And that's a movie that was made and was financed by studios, but they couldn't get distribution rights. So what they do is they take it to a something like Cannes Film Festival or to a film festival, you know, Aspen or any of these things, and they will get distribution rights. So for instance, with that movie, Jordan Peele picked it up and said, okay, now I get a producer credit. I get a cut of the proceeds. I get a cut of the box office, and I'll distribute the movie. And so it works like that. So actors very rarely are able to pick their projects. I mean, they rarely are able to do that, because why would they have the clout to be able to do that? The only people who can do that are people like Leonardo DiCaprio or people who have a constant success rate. You know, Denzel, I mean, even Denzel probably can't even do that. Even though Samuel L. Jackson sort of, I think, stopped trying to do that. Sam Jackson has, I think, the highest box office of any actor ever because of the movies that he's chosen. He's in all the Marvel movies. He's in, you know, he's all the movies that he's chosen make huge box office returns. The only people that can really do that are people with producer credits, and that would be like Tom Cruise and Leonardo DiCaprio. And even they are still beholden to business interest. It's kind of the same as if you're working on Wall Street or if you're making deals with banks or whatever, and you have to pay to play for certain things. But it's in terms of actors taking bad roles, things they don't want to. Yes. And by the way, Dave Chappelle and his big deal about the dress. No, he lied. He did that in 2 different movies, one of which I watched yesterday again, Robin Hood Men in Tights. He's wearing a dress. He's wearing a dress in the movie.
That's right.
So he made this big deal about, you don't want to be put in a dress. Right. Now, a lot of those movies where people are in drag is like, that's like almost every actor appears in drag at some point, as because of the comedic version of whatever the movie is, or when they're in drama school or training or whatever the hell the thing is. That's just like, you're already, it's like Richard Burton said, you're already pretending, and you're already, you know, how Skittles is acting anyway, right? When you're playing dress up all the time. So it's kind of like whatever. And it can be funny, but, with Dave Chappelle, he made a big moral point about never wearing a dress. And he already did do that. And also, by the way, why is it worse for him to wear a dress than for any other guy in a movie to wear a dress? Right. It's not worse for him just because he's, just because he's Dave Chappelle. It's not worse. Yeah. So, that's all bad. But yeah, they have to do this. And I think Chappelle's thing had more to do with control over the product that he was making. He used the moral point as a kind of weird moral point, standing up for his people. But that wasn't really it. I also believe the thing that, what is it? Goat Boy said about SNL's Goat Boy, what he said about, when he talked to Dave Chappelle and when he left, and then when he came back, he seemed like a different person. I'm sure because he had to have taken some deal coming back to be the top guy in everything. He came back in such a huge way. He's the top guy. He's in everything. He wins the Mark Twain Prize, and he's not even funny. Not even funny anymore. I rarely think Chappelle is funny. The only funny people are Nick Mullen, Sam Hyde, and Shane Gillis, and Nick Rochefort. Right.
I think Tim Dillon's funny. His stand-up is, but yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, I mean, in terms of people who are kind of at that level, you probably got Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, maybe Keanu Reeves. I mean, that they're the link. Maybe Mel Gibson. I mean, the list is very short on people who actually have control over their own careers like that.
But also look at Keanu Reeves' movie choices. He can't be in any movie he wants to. No one's going to finance him in a movie, in a comedy. They're only going to finance him in movies where he plays a John Wick character.
Wait,
That's
Bill and Ted. He did the second Bill and Ted.
Yeah, totally sucked. Flop.
I didn't watch it.
Total flop. It killed. Yeah, and that hardly counts, right? Yeah, he was in. You're right though. He was in Bill and Ted when he was younger, and that was stupid, playing dumb Ted, and it was funny, but that was in the '80s. And then he tried to make the comeback. And Alex Winter also has been doing stuff. So, but yeah, it was a flop, and that was probably their test. They probably owed that to them from some studio somewhere, owed them a credit or owed them money to finance this movie.
Probably,
but it didn't work. I mean. So he's not going to be in. He's not going to be in stuff. Leonardo DiCaprio could be in a comedy. He could do that if he financed it himself. Francis Ford Coppola just put out Megalopolis, right, which he financed himself again, just like he did Apocalypse Now. So, I think that even movies, when we think that people have all of this autonomy to do whatever they want in movies, and they don't. They don't. They don't. They have people that are beholden to them. And people that owe them favors through other movies they put out, and it's a huge industry. I mean, think of how big the industry is, and how many people are involved in making a film, and how many people you're beholden to. It's like when Tom Cruise went on that huge rant during Carunca, right, about I'm trying to put food on the table, right? We will not, trying to make Top Gun Maverick, and I remember at the time thinking, this guy sounds like such a jagoff, yelling at these people and losing his temper like this. But in a sense, and whatever he was yelling at them about, I obviously disagree with. If it was about people not, wearing whatever, then I obviously disagree with that. But I do agree with Tom Cruise in the sense that don't fuck up if I'm financing the movie and I'm Tom Cruise and it's my movie and I'm producing it, I'm involved with it getting made. And he says, I'm talking to producers every night. I do agree with him in the sense that you're a professional. You do what's expected of you on the set. If you're a key grip, you come in key grip. If you act, you come and act. You don't have it's like when you go to your job at the bank or wherever you work and you go in, you can't just decide that I'm going to take over the bank or I'm just going to open this account, for Walgreens or what, you have to there's a series of redundancies. And so his point is we're putting food on the table. We're putting people's kids through college and we have a business to run here. And all of the creative decisions are left up to him. So shut the fuck up while he makes the decisions. I understand that. I think actors, like what your question at the beginning about lines, actors have too much autonomy. And when it comes to creative decisions in a play or a film, and where that really goes wrong is with comedy, for example. So for I'll get off my little rant in a second here. When you have a comedy and you have actors, the reason that comedies often don't work is because the lines aren't written and there's too much ad-libbing. Because the ad-libs from actors only serve the purposes of laughs for the moment watching the movie. They never age well. Whereas if you have a movie where you have a script and you have it tight, and there's ad-libbing in a sense that's allowed in little scenes, and then you're able to do different variations of that and see what's best, but it's still composed of the same thing. You've got a contiguous thing in the work, and you don't fuck with what the writer's done. That's when comedies work. That's when they work they become timeless. But when you have too much ad-libbing and too much autonomy from actors, which actors think that they deserve and think that they want, but actors are a lot like children. You need structure. Kids don't want rules. They want to live in a world without rules, but they also suffer when there are no rules because they need rules. Who else are they going to tattletale to if there's no rules? If there's nobody upholding the rules, who else is going to protect them? Who's going to establish their playtime? Who's going to make a good childhood if you have no rules to go by? So kids of all ages need rules. Actors need rules. That's my soapbox.
Yeah, I would say before we jump back in, I would say two things to that. I agree with what you said about the actors and the comedy and the ad-libbing. There is one exception to that, which is Caddyshack. That is the only film that was, probably largely improv and ad-libbed that has stood the test. I can't think of a single other movie where that works, right? And when you have people who are as funny as, especially Rodney Dangerfield, I mean, like he could do it. Like who else could do that? Could take, come in with a movie, basically improv, ad-lib the whole thing, and have so many timeless classic lines. And one other thing is that I remember David Carradine saying that, one of the reasons he, would go do these big movies is so he could make his own, like have the money to make his own films. And which he said was a terrible idea. He was like, it's a terrible idea to try to go work as an actor to be able to make your own movies.
Yeah.
Which,
well, even the Caddyshack thing. I mean, I did a stream on Caddyshack, and I did I did an analysis of the book and the making of Caddyshack, and there's a movie about it with, I forget what's the name of the guy who died. And he's the guy who started National Lampoon. Doug Kenny. Doug Kenny was his name. Kenny. So that guy says that even on the making, even in that movie where it seems so free and so ad-libbed and like it's just a bunch of guys telling jokes, it's not. There's film time, there's set time, there are union rules. You can't just let people come on the set and just do whatever you want and ad-lib for 7 hours. It's not a good use of people's time.
Yeah.
And part of the thing with Rodney in that movie, the reason that Rodney suffered so much in the movie was because he was at the times when he didn't have parameters. So he would come on set and he would say, what am I doing here? What am I supposed to joke about? And then he made jokes with the jokes that were given to him. Right. But even so, it wasn't like, let's just bring Rodney to the set and he'll write the movie for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It never really ends up working like that. Because all of Rodney's jokes were written. It seems like they're not, but Norm talked about that, how all of Rodney's jokes are written. He would go through his jokes, constantly suffering over his jokes and what's going to be funny and rewriting his jokes. And so, yeah, I think that one of the reasons that this movie works, by the way, and you talked about the voiceover, is that the movie kind of functions as a living voiceover. It's like, because when you have a graphic novel, in a sense, the entire graphic novel itself as a medium is all voiceover, because you're reading thought bubbles. You're right. So you're not reading. We don't need to be shown what the characters do, like when we're reading a book, through verbal articulation on a page and through the art of literature. Instead, we have the physical pictures showing us what the characters are doing. And so in a sense, all of the dialogue and all the spoken parts just end up being a kind of a voiceover, which works for graphic novels. And it's the reason that this film kind of works. But it's also the reason why you don't have much dialogue in the movie. A lot of it is just pure voiceover.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Because there's not a whole lot of, a lot of the dialogue between the characters, you can almost see it as being, it's short. The sentences are short. They're kind of not choppy, but the dialogue is very kind of sparse, because it's the kind of thing you can fit into a dialogue bubble.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't have it's not rapid fire like an Aaron Sorkin style, where they're just like constantly going back and forth, but it is short sentences, and there's nothing is wasted. Like every bit of dialogue, it sort of drives the story forward. So there's no kind of like people, and you do have characters like the Nick Offerman and Rick Gomez characters, who are these two hitmen who have these very wordy kind of sentences where they're trying to sound smarter than they actually are, and they're both complete morons.
They're speaking in archaic Shakespearean Shakespeare.
Yes.
Yeah, and he says, "Say it to me in plain English."
Right.
Like, wouldst thou know not that thy sword hath not thy butter? You mean the gun doesn't have any bullets?
So let's see what comes next. So this is so then this sequence ends with, we forgot to mention Hartigan has like some kind of heart condition. I think he said it's angina. I think he said, and so him and Bob shows up, the Michael Madsen character, and shoots him, 6 times in the back or something. And this is one thing I do like about this story is that the characters are not superheroes in the sense that they have these kind of superhuman They do have superhuman abilities because, Hartigan gets shot like 6 times in the back. Marv gets, shot who knows how many times.
Mickey Rourke getting the electric chair.
Oh yeah,
that all you give me, you pansies. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And so they are these kind of almost, sort of larger than life sort of characters that can endure. We'll get to it later. Hardigan, basically wills himself out of dying. And so then the cops show up, and because his whole thing is when Bob shows up and shoots him, he's trying to distract him and stay alive long enough to where the cops show up and Nancy can get away, right? And isn't going to be, isn't going to be like Bob's not going to take her off somewhere or do whatever. Not that I don't think Bob is like Rourke Jr. and that he would do something like Rourke Jr. would do, but basically he's just cleaning up for the people that pay him off.
Yeah.
So then we get into The Hard Goodbye, which is where Marv, who is played by Mickey Rourke, he's out of this regular bar where Nancy is dancing, because a lot of the characters, there's a lot of their stories overlap, and so we later see like that Dwight, Clive Owen's character, and Marv are friends. So anyway, he's sleeps with this woman, meets her at a bar, and then he wakes up several hours later, hungover, and she's dead. And there's no marks on her. He doesn't know how she died. So anyway, he sort of goes through. He's not a how do I say that? He's a very kind of rough and tumble kind of character. Like knocking cops downstairs and smashing through police windshields, throwing cops out of moving vehicles and that kind of thing. So he's a very brutal, which is interesting because to see because most people in Basin City, or Sin City as they call it, are wildly corrupt. They're terrible people. A lot of them are just pure evil. But you have Marv and Dwight, who are kind of these anti-heroes, and where Hardigan is not. He's not an anti-hero. He's a very just kind of like righteous, upstanding, solid kind of guy who does whatever he has to do at all costs to, protect other people. And so even though Dwight and Marv actually are both shown to be kind of insane, like they're both crazy. Marv has this unspecified psychiatric condition where he says as he gets confused, and then Dwight is he actually says at one point, which we'll get into this, he says like he's out of his mind. He's like, he describes him as being out of his mind. And later, as we'll get into here in a minute, he has a conversation with a corpse. And so anyway, if people, we won't get too much into the weeds on this. I just kind of want to hit the main things. If people, can certainly go watch the film. It is dark, it is intense, brutal, gruesome, but it's very well done. So Marv sort of works his way through all these people. He goes and he's, tortures people to get the information of who took this woman, Goldie, played by Jamie King, who is responsible for this. So he finds this priest who's played by Frank Miller himself. And so then Marv is like, okay, who ordered this? And he's like, it was Rourke. He's like, no, there's no way. It can't be Rourke. And so the priest tells him, he's like, no, there's a farm outside of town. And so then Marv shoots him and then goes out to this farm where we see, where we meet Kevin, who is Elijah Wood's character, who has these sort of like glowing white eyes or glasses, I guess.
He's eliminate confirm.
Yes, 100%. And so we see Kevin, Elijah Wood.
He's like
it's literally what he does. And so Kevin gets the drop on Marv, and he wakes up in his like dungeon basement kind of thing with his parole officer, played by Carla. You said
Carla
her name, I can't
Gugino.
pronounce it.
Carla Gugino is so hot.
Oh yeah, she is
so
beautiful.
fine in this. Yeah,
who's also the mom in Spy Kids. So she's in there, and then we see you know what? I don't care if the algorithm bears me for this one. We see he looks up on the wall and we see that there's these women's heads mounted as if they were deer or something like that, like deer or ducks or whatever kind of animals you shoot. So these trophies, and she actually says, I think Lucille is her character's name, actually says that like, oh yeah, he eats them. And so somebody pulls up and yells for Kevin. So he leaves, they break out of the dungeon, and then they're leaving. Lucille gets shot by the cops. Marv kills all of them with a hatchet. And then so he makes his way out to Rourke, this cardinal played by Rutger Hauer, kills all of his guards and is carrying, I don't know if I can say this. He disposes of Kevin. We'll say that in a particularly gruesome kind of manner.
It's awesome.
It's so good that scene.
He lets the wolves, and he's like, he didn't even move, even when the wolves came to get him. And he's like,
it's like he never screams.
He's like,
because that's when his eyes they go back to normal, and his glasses you can actually see his eyes.
He sets up all these tripwires, and he's like, I knew this son of a bitch was gonna come and get me. And then you see this, whoosh, he comes out the window, he like bashes out the window, right? And then he's like flip, and then he like double back kicks him, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, I got you cuffed, you son of a bitch. And then he cuffs him to the tree or whatever, and he's like, and then the woman, the funniest part of the movie is Carla Gugino walks up to him in the woods, and she's like, I'm gonna get him, and he's like, and he punches her out. He's like, so he's like, he punches her out. He's like, some things even a dame can't stand, right? He's carrying her out of the woods. Yeah, and then
he's like, it'll give you nightmares.
Yeah. He takes it. He takes the head up to like the giant statue. The building is like a Pope statue of Rutger Hauer. Right, that looks like
staircase.
It looks like it looks like in Bram Stoker's Dracula when like the castle looks like a Dracula like sitting, but it's a giant Pope building, and he takes it up there, and he's like, and then Rutger Hauer's like, he has this Illuminate confirmed speech where I thought the most, one of the most interesting parts of the movie, because he tells the speech where, he eats the people, he eats them, and he doesn't just eat their bodies, he eats their souls, and he's like, I even tried a little bit of it. I even tried some of their brains. I even tried some of their bodies. And he said that when he ate them, he said he was filled with light. When he ate them, he says he was.
It was white light. He said the eating filled him with white light.
So he's Illuminate confirmed. So he is feasting on the bodies and souls, right, in an inverted Eucharist. Vampire Dracula Dahmer style, feasting on innocence and youth, filled with false white light that shines out of his sunglasses and leaves him mute, and that of course also serves the priest Rutger Hauer at the top of the pyramid in his Illuminate confirmed oligarchy with his brother as the senator. So they have a stranglehold on Basin City, as you call it. Basin City. Definitely not based in city. Yeah.
Anyway. that whole speech is fascinating because Rourke says that Kevin, he had the voice of an angel, and he said he only spoke to me. And he said that Kevin, he came to him as a very troubled boy, and so he says like the eating, it filled him with white light.
So it's SRA. It's SRA.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be, because he the way he tells it is that, though Kevin, he basically, like, some kid came and was like, I'm having these struggles, I'm having these problems, because he had guilt over what he was doing, and but then I think it's obvious he's lying, and that the kid probably actually had these issues, but then he sort of GR00MED him into taking part in this, and that because the Cardinal, like, it's known that Cardinal Rourke is a creep, like the guy's a freak, he's a weirdo, he's into some really dark kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's obvious he's lying, and he's actually the one who, because like he says, we didn't just eat their bodies, they ate their souls.
Yeah.
And so,
All of
there is this like very dark, like spiritual kind of aspect to this.
all of the Rosario Dawson sex workers in the movie are all victims, of this. That's why they become what they become in the movie. And even the girl who grows up to be Jessica Alba, it's like that same thing, but happens to Elijah Wood's character, but he doesn't get saved, right, by the brute with a heart. You also notice that it's weird how Bruce Willis and Mickey Rourke are in this movie because they are so similar. At one point in time, they were like very similar phenotypes. And then this was the start of the redemption arc of Mickey Rourke in films. And then, of course, Mickey Rourke plays the total brute with a heart who ends up both of them are forced to sign confessions for things that they didn't do to take on the guilt of what the pyramid people are doing. And Bruce Willis also has like a noticeable cross scar in his forehead, kind of an X, cross in his forehead. And Mickey Rourke, of course, plays this brutish character with a heart who is looking for he's looking for nub in all the wrong places. With Jamie King. And Jamie King also, wasn't Jamie King the face of Heroin Chic in the 90s? I think she was.
Yes, she was
Jamie King and Kate Moss.
Yeah, she kind of, it was her and Kate Moss was
So it's kind of art reflecting reality, reflecting back on itself. Elijah Wood, Elijah Wood, former child actor. Same with Nick Stahl and a bunch of these characters. But it's interesting because it's a comic book version of it's not real or factual, but it's truthful when you're watching this. And it's interesting how they kind of cover that by doing a graphic novelization through film of how this stuff works. And I think it's interesting. It's also interesting how it's serialized and how it's episodic and yarn spun. As if we're looking at different variations of the story of America. It's also, the main character's name is Rourke. You can't help but think of Howard Rourke in the Ayn Rand Atlas Shrugged. There's a lot of Atlas Shrugged in this. It's all black and white, looking up at the sky, gigantic hulking buildings, rain falling down, sort of industrialized, anything goes, libertarian dream society where the rich and powerful through strength of will. And then are able to satisfy and satiate their darkest desires and satanic, needs, and then blame it on the innocent people. And the innocent people are the ones who look bad, right, in society, actually have the heart of gold. So,
that's I was reading Frank Miller's Wikipedia page the other day, and he's one of these people that apparently often gets. People will describe him as conservative. He actually said, "No, I'm not conservative. I'm libertarian." So that's probably an intentional allusion to Ayn Rand's work, which I would imagine is. I've not read any Ayn Rand personally, but I sort of know the gist of some of the stories, and so. Then I wanted to, because there's so much going on in these, it jumps around a lot. But a
lot of characters,
a lot of characters. So this is not maybe a full treatment of
Have you seen The Wrestler?
Yes, yeah.
Good
movie.
He's so good. Yeah, Mickey Rourke rules, dude.
Yeah, I really like
him. Yeah,
fantastic actor.
Have you seen Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man?
No, I've heard of that one. I haven't seen it.
It was like my favorite movie after Navy SEALs when I was like 10. It's Mickey Rourke and Don Johnson as
nice
Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man. That's the plot. That's basically it.
I have to look that one up.
By the way, interesting tidbit before I forget. Clive Owen, who's great in this movie, and was getting his start around the time because he did King Arthur, and he was a fill-in for King Arthur. There were a bunch of people that were supposed to be in King Arthur before him, and then he was in King Arthur. He was in Croupier, which is a great movie. That's another sort of noir movie. He was in this BBC. He was in an English television series in the early '90s where he plays a kind of fixer. I forget the name of it, but it's really good. But I read that Clive Owen lied. He doesn't lie about it, but his age on Wikipedia is 2 years too. He's actually 2 years older than his Wikipedia. I mean, than his IMDb age is.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. But I've always liked Clive Owen. I think he's cool. I don't think he's ever been in a movie that I didn't like. Of course, Children of Men. He's great in Children of Men.
Mm-hmm.
So I love him. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, he was also in. I was just looking this up. I was trying to remember. I thought he was in that. He was in The Bourne Identity. He played. I think he was the
One of the
piano
other assassins.
teacher.
Yeah.
He looks totally different in that movie. Like you almost don't
He
even
does.
recognize him.
Yeah. He's
he
the
looks,
guy in the
he
first Bourne Identity who that Bourne shoots in the cornfields, and he says, "Look at us! Look at what they made us do! Look at what they've done to us!"
Yeah,
Which is like the best line. The best Bourne movie, actually, I think, is the Jeremy Renner one. That's probably the most. I actually think that one's the best one. But because he plays like a real, he's looking for his chems, and he's a MK Delta, and it's also got the mass event scene at Fort Detrick at the beginning at Edgewood Arsenal, where the guy has the event. But Clive Owen is cool.
Yeah, he's a great, and that's a poignant scene between him and Matt Damon in that cornfield there. So yeah, then we get into the one with Clive Owen, who plays Dwight McCarthy, who he's kind of dating this waitress who works at the bar that Marv goes to, and where Jessica Alba's character Nancy is a dancer, and
she's
so
like,
he's
you're like, whoa, doing a lasso on the stage. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's like a full.
Damn, this little Linda. Yeah.
And so this is where we see. So he's at her apartment at the Brittany Murphy character. He's at her apartment. Clive Owen is, and this guy Jackie Boy shows up. Him and his friends, and so Dwight goes and hides in the bathroom, and she lets him in. Him and his friends are all drunk, and so this character is played by the great Benicio del Toro, brilliant actor, one of the best, I think. And so he goes to her bathroom, and so Clive Owen's hiding in the shower, and then he comes out, and like that's when he tells him, he's like, oh, I'm Shelley's new boyfriend, and then I'm out of my mind. He's got like you can see it in the thumbnail for the video. That's from that scene where he's got the razor up against his face, and
yeah.
So then he nearly drowns him in the unflushed toilet, and then disappears. So then it turns out this guy's actually a cop, who's this hero cop, as they say. And one of the things with these characters, you don't get a lot of backstory, so we don't really know why there's Jackie Boy, the Benicio del Toro character, why he's this like hero cop, but in real life he's this drunk bully. And we don't know, like, did he become that? Was he always that? We don't really know. They just kind of drop us. Frank Miller just kind of drops us in these stories with no real background or much backstory. And so, like, long story short, he goes into Old Town, which is the red light district, which is run by Rosario Dawson's character. And, they end up killing him. And because he, tries to shoot the Alexis Bledel character, and then Miho, who's the Devon Aoki character, who's kind of the opposite, inverse may be the right word, of Kevin, because Kevin never says anything. Neither does Miho. They're both kind of small. They're both fast. They're both lethal, and they're both brutal. I mean, their methods of killing people are very brutal, very violent, very extreme, and the thing is, I don't think she was a hooker though. Like I never got the impression that she engaged in the same kind of work that they did. I think she's just, a cold-blooded assassin who
doesn't she have the same weapons as she does in Kill Bill, because Quentin Tarantino had him in the closet. And he was like, listen, I'll shut your butt down if you don't use these weapons.
Maybe I actually don't know that. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's true. Because Quentin Tarantino directed the scenes with Mickey Rourke getting hit by the car. Like when he keeps getting hit.
Oh, he did that one
when he walks out and he like keeps getting hit by the car.
Oh yeah.
He gets hit by a car like 400 times. I think those are all Quentin Tarantino.
I know he did the one which we'll get to. I do want to get to. We got about 30 minutes. I want to get to with between Jackie Boy and Clive Owen.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that scene where it was Jamie King, it was Goldie's twin sister. It's just like doing donuts, taking Marv out with the car over and over. I
love there's one scene with Mickey Rourke walking. He like it's after the cops come to arrest him and he like busts out the door and they all go flying and then he jumps down the stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the scene after that is him like walking on a bridge with his trench coat on. And the way he's walking is very, very cool. He's like,
oh yeah.
It's very cool. I thought he was so good in this movie. Everything he does, he's just very, very physical actor. I like that a lot. I think that Tarantino directed those scenes because Robert Rodriguez had like scored. He'd done the score for something else that Tarantino did, and it was he paid him $1 for his work on the score, and then he paid him back by directing the scene. I forget what the deal was, but
I know he also directed Rodriguez directed the scene when Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson show up at Tarantino's house in Pulp Fiction.
That was really?
Yeah. Rodriguez did that one.
Do you see a sign that says no?
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I actually do.
Hold on,
let's trashing the movie.
Let's hang back.
I actually like that one.
Let's hang back. Let's get in character. I'm the foot fucking master. No, I like this movie also because so many people in it are my age. Jessica Alba's my age. Elijah Wood's my age. Rosario Dawson, 1980. She's my age. I love seeing people in movies that are my age. I don't know.
I think it's cool.
Like, Channing Tatum's my age. Ryan Gosling's my age. Chris Evans is my age. Yeah. 1980, best year ever.
Yeah.
No, but Clive Owen, what else was Clive Owen in? Just he was. Have you guys seen The International? 2009, great movie. That's basically a confession. It's Confessions of an Economic Hitman, right? The Perkins book is basically that. He was the TV show he was in the early 90s was called Chancer. That's a fucking Chancer right there. He played Chancer. Great, actually very, very well done television show in the early 90s. Croupier, and then he's in a bunch of noir-esque stuff. And somebody, maybe Bill Hicks, somebody in the chat said that he should have, he was rooting for him to play Bond. I mean, Clive Owen should have played Bond.
Oh,
honestly.
Yeah.
He would have been a fantastic Bond. He would have been great. Are they still going to make Bond? I don't know why they would, but
I think Henry Cavill doing it.
Are they? I mean,
Henry Cavill's the next one.
Just Clive Owen would be so perfect for that role. I mean, he's well into his 60s now. I think he's 62 now, which is amazing. I can't believe he's that old. But he's cool. I like him. And what was I going to say? A lot of this movie reminds me of cutaways and side quests in American Dad. Like the scene with the heads on the wall. It reminds me of that scene. Anybody in the chat know this episode where they have we're the Tapaholic Ham Society. We're here to discuss our love of ham. And Roger says, what about, Stan says, well, that would be the matter at ham. And the other guy goes, more like the matter at ham. And he says, I just said that. So it's like the same scene with all the heads on the wall. But anyway, the matter at ham. No, but yeah, he and I feel like Benicio's character is kind of a bad lieutenant character in this in a way. Have you seen Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel?
I have not seen. I like Harvey Keitel, but I haven't seen that one.
Abel Ferrara. Oh my gosh, dude! Talk about a bad lieutenant. Talk about a dirty cop. That's also an American Dad episode. Anyway, yeah, he plays He plays a dirty cop in this, just like in that. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I threw us off track. Where were we?
No, that's totally fine. We're having fun. And so, yeah, then we have, they end up killing Jackie Boy, and so he gets. What's interesting is Miho Devon Aoki character has this like a ninja star that she throws, but it's in the shape of a certain symbol heavily associated with a regime in Germany in the 1930s and 40s. I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. I can.
You talking about Dolph Hodler?
Yeah. She throws. It's the one that like sticks in Jackie. Like when she throws it, it like sticks in there. And
Bill Riccio lent her that prop.
Yeah, Bill Riccio was like, he's like, I want to have this. Can you give me a credit in the movie? I'll let you borrow my ninja star. And they're like,
he was like, don't. No. He was like, don't compare me to that man. Don't compare me to that man.
Oh gosh.
I mean, it's kind of moldy down here, I guess, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, this is where we live. No big deal.
Send us your broken toys. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so she then Miho kind of like almost cuts this off. They say she makes a Pez dispenser out of him, right? So his head doesn't come all the way off. So then the girls in Old Town who work this red light district and the cops have a truce where the girls kind of police their own area and the cops don't bother them. And we learned that this is all a setup by the mob, which is to say it's a setup by Rourke, who runs everything by the Rourke family, so they can come back in and control everything, make the money. And so he has, so then they chop up Miho chops up his henchmen, they put them in the trunk, and then they can't fit them all in there. So they put Jackie Boy in the passenger seat. And so they're driving along. He's driving them out to these tar pits, right, where they're going to dispose of the bodies. And this is a great scene because one thing I did notice, I just noticed these things, is so Jackie Boy's dead, right? So Clive Owen's character, Dwight, who has quit smoking, he reaches over and he takes one of his cigarettes out. Now you can tell he's smoking a fake one because you can tell Benicio del Toro is actually, because he's smoking out of a pack of Marlboro Lights, and you can tell they're actual Marlboro Lights because they have the white filter, and the way he's smoking them, you can tell they're real cigarettes. But Clive Owen, the filter is brown, and you can tell he's not actually smoking, which was kind of interesting. Yeah. But so then he starts hallucinating that he's having a conversation with Jackie Boy, and the way Benicio does this is brilliant because he's, they're driving along and his head is kind of like going back, and when it goes back, his voice will get really raspy, and then when his head comes back down, he goes back to his normal voice, sort of mimicking as if someone had gotten their head partially cut off and their
he got it OJ'd. He got OJ'd.
Yeah, so it was it's a brilliant scene. I think he did very well with that. Tarantino did a good job in directing it. And so then I guess we can jump to
Benicio's great in this because he doesn't steal he kind of steals the movie, but you can't. You're like, when I was watching, I was like, who the hell's this? Just by putting on his fake Sam Hyde nose.
Yeah.
And he puts on a peanut Arbuckle nose or whatever. And they call me Argon.
They call me the Night Master. They call me the Silver Bullet. They call me Go-Go Nuts.
By the way, before I forget, I sent you that clip this past weekend of those two clips from Sam. I watched those like so many times of the Counting Killer.
Oh, it's so funny.
The Counting Killer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Oh man.
He's playing Fallout. He's playing Fallout, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna get your ass. I got your ass, fool. I'm gonna get your ass. 1, 2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6.
8, 9. Okay, go."
That kind of stuff coming off the top of your head is it's brilliant. So yeah, I guess we can get into the second to last yarn here with That Yellow Bastard Part 2, right? So Hardigan, Senator Rourke comes in, Powers Booth, who's another brilliant actor. Powers Booth, I think is he dead or I don't know if he's dead.
Yeah, he died. He died a couple years ago. He's great because Tombstone. He was great.
Yes,
Tombstone,
Tombstone was
I
great.
feel topical. Oh no! Oh no, Bill! Oh no! Right. He's in there smoking opium. Yeah, he's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just watched that recently. That's a fantastic movie. So he pays for Hardigan to get a new heart. He gets him, suited up, everything good. So then they send him to prison, but he won't talk. He won't say anything. So they pin the crime that Rourke Jr. was trying to do to Nancy. They pin that on Hardigan. And so he ends up going to prison. Also, I think it was the judge in the scene with Marv before he gets executed, because they pin all of Kevin and Rourke's crimes on Marv.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned he gets the electric chair, but
they haystack him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the judge looks like Andrea Dworkin. I noticed that she bears a striking resemblance to Andrea Dworkin, which I thought was kind of interesting. So then they eventually so Nancy says, like, "Oh, I'll write you every week," but then she stops writing him after 8 years. He stops getting the letters, and somebody sends him a finger that had been chopped off of someone's hand. So then he thinks,
Big Lebowski again. Yeah,
yes,
but
yeah,
exactly.
Instead of
a toe. Yeah.
And so they think, they got Nancy. So he says, "You know what? Screw it." He just confesses to everything, gets put on parole. He goes trying to find her, and is being followed by this, like, almost dripping, just bulbous, disgusting yellow creature, which we find out is Rourke Jr. because in his dad, Senator Rourke, is obsessed with trying to continue that blood. There's that bloodline obsession. And so he puts him onto these, medical experiments and all these like experimental treatments, trying to get him to, regrow his genitalia so he can continue on the bloodline. And so then he's kind of following them, and he eventually finds them and hangs Hardigan in a hotel room. Right, he gets him in the hotel room, or motel room, I should say. Hardigan is able to get out of it, tracks him down to the farm. And what's interesting in this, and I didn't pick up on this until I was getting the photo I used for the Instagram post of Kevin reading, because he's out at the farm. So the stories are not in chronological order. The yarns are not in chronological order. So as you can, there's a shot where it's like out a window, and Kevin is sitting there reading a book, and Hardigan is like running in the snow behind him across this window outside. And I never realized this. Kevin is reading what appears to be a Bible, because there's a cross, like a glowing cross on the book. And I noticed when I was watching earlier, when Marv shows up to Cardinal Rourke's, this tower he lives in, he's reading the same book that has this like glowing cross on it, which I thought was, I just thought it was kind of interesting.
Well, he's a Satanist, so he knows the scripture, of course,
right,
for him to subvert and invert it and eat people. And somebody made a good point about the way they showed the disgusting creeper archetype with the hyperthyroidism or whatever turning yellow into the Gleep Glop character from Star Trek Next Generation. He turns completely yellow because he's been totally incelled. He's been totally zeroed out, zero to the bone, as Emily Dickinson of all people says. And he turns in. I mean, that is probably a true representation of his the Renaissance humor bile, right? He's all bile. He's just a disgusting zeroed out hormone as a completely demon, total demon creature on Earth, who is glowing yellow in a black and white world. Just a kind of a sick, putrid, disgusting character. So I thought it was really good how they did that. Pretty scary.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is kind of chilling the way they did it, and there's multiple references that Hardigan actually says he almost throws up because he smells so bad. Like there's this horrible stench that follows him around, that follows Rourke Jr.
Like Henry Lee Lucas in Halitosis, but as a full body. Totally.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like who was it? Chavez, who some people say this was metaphorical or figurative or whatever, where he was talking about, it smells like sulfur when I think it was at the UN. Yeah. He was like, because George W. Bush was here yesterday.
I'm angry. This ain't loving people. Obama and Hillary smell like sulfur. Yeah.
I was just thinking of that.
That's what Trump said when he got on Air Force One for the first time. Remember that? That was literally a news story. I remember. He said, I got on Air Force One for the first time. It's no Trump Force One. It's Air Force One. It literally smells like sulfur and brimstone, and other restaurants. I'll say particular restaurants with 3 letters. Because it was Obama's plane. It smelled like food and sulfur and brimstone. Yeah,
I had not heard that. That's I don't even remember that one.
I'm sure Hillary Crimpton smells like that in real life. Yeah,
probably. Yeah, I think
it smells like hell.
That. Yeah. So there's a whole. So one thing is. So Rourke Jr. gets Nancy and he's taking off with her, and Hardigan tells her, he's like, don't scream, whatever you do, don't, because that's the only way that he can achieve what Rourke Jr. can achieve what he's trying to achieve, is if his victims scream. And so then he ends up he follows him out to this farm, fakes having a heart attack, and so then Junior is like, oh, okay, he's this old guy, he's dead, basically. So then Hardigan gets the drop on him and then starts savagely beating him, and
rips out his lang parts
by hand, like literally by hand. And I think that's important, because I a lot of people, when people do the kind of crimes that Rourke does, there's like, oh, we should remove that, and I think that there's an element of this to that, but not to harp on the bloodlines thing, but I think that there's something to it. I think there's a reason why, like, Frank Miller goes out of his way to show us that he's doing this for a second time. It's like he knows it's almost like he knows what he's doing by removing Rourke Jr.'s ability to procreate, that there's a possibility that, because if, Senator Rourke's going to die, Cardinal Rourke is dead, Senator Rourke's going to die eventually, and then if he can't continue that on, and even though he knows, because then he beats him to death, like literally pulverized, like turns his head into mush. I think that it's symbolic of like ending this bloodline and kind of ending this reign of terror that they've had over Basin City for all these decades.
Like Bill Hicks says in the chat, removes his gun, both of them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Also, Powers Booth's character, Rourke, his scenes are interesting because his eyes, he's wearing some sort of contacts in the movie, but his eyes are shining, not like Elijah Wood with the illuminate confirmed glasses, the white light from his false white light from his eating souls, but they're shining with a weird sort of vampirical light in this. And also Rutger Hauer being bald in the end is very, it's interesting the number of people that they got in this movie. First of all, like we covered at the very beginning, but also it's a striking look, and that some of the lead actors are unrecognizable. I mean, Mickey Rourke is unrecognizable. Benicio del Toro is unrecognizable. Of course, Bruce Willis starts off the movie and I like how he's portrayed as a paragon of virtue in the movie. He's there to be this girl's angel protector, and she doesn't, even when she grows up, she doesn't really recognize that. She tries to cross boundaries, that because of her SRA, she's trying to cross boundaries, right? She thinks that she's confusing a father figure with a lover or something, and he's not down with that. So I like that they kept it strict like that. I thought that was pretty cool. Billick says, I keep thinking of Beyond the Black Rainbow. Yeah, I mean, this movie also is wild because of its place preceding the Marvel revolution. Because the 90s had a lot of comic book movies and attempts at starting a comic book thing, and then we had Lord of the Rings, and then we had vampire movies, but this really is, Iron Man in 2008 starts the whole Marvel sort of arc. And this movie comes at a time, well, it's like 2005, where it really sort of sets the stage between previous movies, prior movies. Yeah, no shit, that was Rutger Hauer. Yeah, it's like a weird Roy Batty reference here in this film. I mean, I know I'm going kind of far with that, but it really does look like, and Jethro says Blade really started it. Yeah. I mean, we have these kind of offshoots of comic book movies that are successful, and this one sort of exists in the middle where it's really, really trying. I mean, it's really a comic book movie come to life in translation on film. And one thing that's interesting is Marvel movies after this, with Iron Man and Hulk and all these movies, the Eric Bana Hulk, the opening sequence to Marvel movies with the comic books flipping pages really looks like this. It looks like this movie. So if anything, I think they took this and then they used that as a template. So
yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't even considered that because I saw I think the second Iron Man. I think they did that in that where they had like the pages flipping, and yeah, it was definitely because this kind of. I mean, you think before this they had the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, which I liked the first two. I thought those were actually. I'm not a comic book movie guy, but I liked those two. And then this came out the same year. The Dark Knight, or not Dark, Batman Begins. Came out, and so, but that was, kind of like a. I think that didn't Frank Miller do the Dark? Wasn't he the one that did the Dark Knight comic series?
I don't know, but this came out before. It came out the same year, but it came out before Batman Begins.
Yeah,
because I remember seeing Batman Begins when it came out when I was living in Malaysia, and they cut the kissing scene.
Really?
They're not allowed. They censor kissing. They're not allowed to show kissing on the screen in Malaysia.
Huh.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about, while you were talking about Nancy, sort of mixing up like a sort of paternal sort of love with like a more romantic, this is something that is I don't think it's a direct reference, but we see this also in True Detective season 1 where Marty gets the girl who later becomes the Alexandra Daddario character out of this where she's doing red light kind of activities underage, and then later she comes on to him and instead of being like a Hartigan who is this very righteous like you said paragon of virtue, he instead gives in to his base desires and goes along with it and ends up cheating on his wife.
He's the rescuer archetype of, changes over into the father figure. And that in True Detective is supposed to play counterpoint to Matthew McConaughey's character, who is missing his daughter, right? His daughter has been killed. So he's back at home with Marty's wife while Marty is with the girl, and it doesn't come into Matthew McConaughey's purview, into his true, what do you call that? He stays true to his detective hood, right? Everything he's doing is for this long arc mission, and it takes Marty a long time as a foil character to latch onto that. But that finally happens, I think, when he shows them the videotape, and he's like, no, that's when he finally sort of pulls him into what they're really dealing with here, because before I feel like he doesn't really get it on the same level that Matthew McConaughey does. But yeah, it's interesting. I think Blade came out before Matrix. Matrix was 99.
I think Blade was 98.
Blade was before that.
Yeah. So I guess just to get to the last yarn in this one, we see Josh Hartnett show back up, because we kind of had to gloss over a lot, because like I said, there's a lot of characters, a lot going on. But we see Alexis Bledel, who she was the one who sold out the red light, her Old Town colleagues out to the mob, right? So the mob came in like with a Michael Clark Duncan character, and also one of the henchmen for the mob. He had that same symbol from 1930s and 40s Germany tattooed on his forehead.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. Maybe it's a little Charles Manson reference. I don't know. But so anyway, and then Rosario Dawson like bites a chunk out of Alexis Bledel's neck.
Oh yeah, I forgot she was in this. Yeah, shouts out to your Gilmore Girl.
Yes, this is a quite different character. This is Rory Gilmore if she made worse choices in life.
Yeah.
And so then she goes to the hospital and is getting patched up, and then and so this is, again, like I said, a lot of these characters kind of overlap. But this is where we see these sort of seedy underworlds overlap, because she's on the phone with her mom in an elevator leaving the hospital, and we hear this voice. Josh Hartnett has a very distinctive voice. He's like, "Oh, would you like a cigarette?" And she turns around and it's like, "Oh, Mom, like I'll talk to you later. I'll have to call you back," or something like that, and then hangs up. And like, we know she recognizes the salesman, and she knows what he's there for. That this is it. You can tell on her face that she's not just like, wait, because he's he has the lab coat and he's wearing the glasses and everything, and it doesn't actually show her getting taken out, but it's pretty obvious she knows what's coming next.
Yep. People are talking about John Leguizamo in the chat, and Spawn, and art not these heartless hinds. John Leguizamo and William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet with Jamie Kennedy. I bite my thumb at you, sir.
I didn't know Jamie Kennedy was in that. I haven't seen that one.
Oh yeah. He plays one of the Montague boys. The boys. Art not these, what? Art thou art thou drawn amongst these heartless hinds? That's pretty good, John Leguizamo.
That was good. Yeah, that was It was pretty close.
He's in The Counselor. Okay, I gotta head out. I'm sorry to head out here. But
it's all good. Yeah, I think we kind of hit all the major. Do I officially recommend this movie? It's up to you. If you don't mind, really dark, grim, very dark kind of, and it's not. Some things they don't show, but they don't shy away from brutality. So if you don't mind that, then it's well worth watching. It's very well done. But make your own choices. I'm not here to tell you what to watch.
Yeah, it's a visual stunner. It's a good film. It's a good flick, and it's kind of getting lost in the shuffle now as time goes on. Because this was a kind of go-to for a long time. So I would recommend it. I mean, the cast of anything is very good, and Mickey Rourke and Benicio and all the great actors in this. I think it's really well done. And it's probably the apogee of. Or no, it's the zenith of noir films. I mean, it's the most noir you can be. And like you said, it's kind of self-referential, it's kind of a meta noir film, and that it becomes the kind of parody of noir films, but then serious. So it's very well done and particularly inventive. So I would check it out. Sin City. There's also a sequel, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For.
That one, I enjoyed that one. I don't think it's held up as well. They definitely made some missteps in that one. And that one, they were supposed to do a third one where they were going to do Hell and Back, which is probably my favorite Sin City yarn. With Johnny Depp was supposed to play Wallace, But I think after that one, the second one kind of bombed at the box office, and they said they're not doing the third one. I wish they would, but yeah, the second one, I don't know.
Plus they picked up with 300, which is also the same. Isn't that also the same dude? In 300, the same guy? Isn't that Frank Miller?
I think so. Yeah, I think Frank Miller did.
Yeah, 300's great. I like 300.
Yeah,
that also has a sequel, but 300 is good. Again, really green screened movie, and it looks really good. This really was like making green screen work. It was blue screen before this.
right.
Cut out. It's basically like photoshopped movies. And green screen. Build a set on a physical set on a green screen, and then just put it anywhere, and it works. So I gotta go because I will be on Burmis. Check out TNT Radio Live. You can go there and click on the live link, listen live, or I think there's a YouTube link also. And I'll be on there with Burmis talking about the movie Her, because of the news with Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI and the voice of AI and how they're using her voice. So I'll be on there talking about that. And everybody, make sure you like and share this stream. Let's get Kutsky up there. And also you can support him. Go to his Cash App link. You can support him anytime. And thanks for having me, Broski. Really appreciate you. We got to do another one.
Yeah.
Do another one. We got to do another one where we have 5 hours to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I have some more. Criterion just had a sale on movies, so I bought like 5 new movies. Maybe these will be good. But yeah, I have a bunch of movies I want to do, so I'll let you get to it. And thanks for coming on. And
thanks, man. I'm up for talking about movies anytime. Whatever movie you got, I'm up for talking about it. So
all right, sounds good. I'll hit you up.
Okay, man. Peace. Love you. Peace, y'all. Peace.
Well, that's pretty much it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like the stream. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment. Comments help a lot. We're not concerned about our position in the algorithm too much over here. It's small. It's fine. It's we're having a good time. But yes, thank you. We had a bunch of homies in the chat. We got Toledo, Bill Hicks, Jason, Daniel. Jethro was here earlier. Panda Crew in the house. Day Jire, Living the Dream. Who else we got? Did I miss anybody? I know there's some people here earlier. I think they left. I don't know if I can scroll that far back up. But anyway, yes, heck of a lot of fun. I don't really think there's anything else I had to say about the movie. I think we kind of hit all. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I thought about maybe doing the second one. I haven't. Oh, Circle G, what's up? I haven't watched A Dame to Kill For in a long time, so I don't know. I might do that one at some point. I'll have to see if there's enough to kind of analyze there. I feel like that one I might just be kind of critiquing the film, not really analyzing. I don't want to do reviews, but I feel like I'd just be critiquing it about like, oh, here's what they should have done that would have been. I mean, it's enjoyable, but it had a good cast as well. But I feel like it certainly could have been better. Oh, Slowboy Whiteboard was here earlier. That's right. Shout out Slowboy Whiteboard. I think Evan. I'm remembering names. I keep reading the chat. Oh, Dr. Crispy was here earlier. So yeah, we had a bunch of people. This was a good turnout. But anyway, Dame to Kill For. I know like Josh Brolin played Clive Owen's character, which I like Josh Brolin. I think he's a great actor, but I think Clive Owen had something else going on and couldn't do the sequel. And then I think Dennis Haysbert played Michael Clark Duncan's character, because Michael Clark Duncan had actually passed away between Sin City and Sin City A Dame to Kill For. And then somebody played, I think Devon Aoki was pregnant when they did the sequel, so she couldn't play Miho, and I don't remember who played Miho instead. Who played, was it Jamie Chung? I was talking about, I thought it was Jamie Chung. But yeah, still pretty good cast. I mean, the second one, like Mickey Rourke came back. Jessica Alba, Eva Green was in it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Rosario Dawson, Powers Booth came back. Ray Liotta, Stacy Keach, great actor. Stacy Keach is a great actor. Jamie King came back. Oh, Christopher Lloyd was in there. I forgot about that. Jeremy Piven, who played Michael Madsen's character. I don't know why Michael Madsen didn't come back for that one, but Jeremy Piven played his character. Christopher Maloney was in there. Juno Temple. Oh, Lady Gaga, I forgot she was in there. Alexa Vega, Frank Miller. So, yeah, really, maybe we'll do that one. We'll see. I might do that one. Bill Hicks says, I can't remember a single thing from Sin City 2 if I did see it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was okay. It's been probably at least a year or two since I've seen that, so I think it deserves a rewatch. So, yeah, I'll revisit it, see how it is, see what if there's anything to do with it. Because some movies are really good, but there's not really enough there to kind of properly analyze them, which we found out when we did the Looper stream. That was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the Looper stream. But we were going to do Brick initially. It was done by the same director and starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but we ended up Clontarf too. What's up, Clontarf? We ended up not doing what am I trying to say? Brick, because it's a great film, but there's just not really much not enough to analyze. So anyway, I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but yeah, nothing else to say about this one. So, yeah, like I said, leave a comment, leave a like if you enjoyed it. I know it was it'd been like a month since I did the last one, which was not intentional. I wanted to get in and do some others, but I just had so much going on over the last several weeks, but trying to be more consistent. But I appreciate the fact that people still show up and still still come and hang out and tune in. I know people say, the name of the game is you have to. Oh, and Jason, what's up, Jay? I think I mentioned Jason earlier. Jason's always in the chat. I always appreciate that. I don't think people always, you got to churn out content. You just got to crank out content constantly. And I don't know. I mean, do I have an audience in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands? No, I don't care. I think we're at like 268 right now subscribers. That's fine. that's totally fine. I don't or 278. So I don't know, whatever it is, something 200. It's over 250. I know that. But there's something to be said for quality over quantity. I feel we have a pretty good quality crew of people over here. Also still working on that. What is it? It's a book I'm reading right now. I can't think of the name of it. Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. So Jethro is going to be coming on for that one. We are working on that one. It's a very long book, and I'm getting through it. It's good. So yeah, we're looking forward to that one. I don't know. BLA might come back for that one. I'm not sure. I asked him about it, and we ended up talking about the book, but I don't know. But I do know Jethro will be on here for that one. So be on the look at, yes, quality over quantity equals winning. I agree 100%. So sometimes you see people's anyway, no, I'm not going to get into all that. But all right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Got a long day tomorrow, so. Yes, thanks everybody for coming in and tuning in, hanging out. We had a lot of fun, and you got 3 minutes. You can go check out BLA on Jason Burmis's show over at tntradio.live, or there's a YouTube stream as well. I don't remember. I watched it or listened to it on YouTube last time he was on there. Maybe it was just Burmis's channel, maybe it was the TNT channel. I can't remember, but yeah, go to tntradio.live and you should be able to find it. So anyway, thanks again. Everybody take care. Have a good night, and hopefully see y'all sooner than a month from now.